So to this day, I don't really understand the objections to reparations. Recently, someone left a comment on one of my videos, and I'm going to go over that comment. It's in response to Black Americans fight for reparations. They say race is immaterial. Race entitles you to nothing. Race convicts you of nothing. Now let me stop here. This is not a race-based agenda. We're not demanding reparations based on race. Please, all of you who have something to say, please understand that. Get that through your head, please. Stop saying this. Y'all sound very ignorant. Black American is not a race. It's a specific ethnic group. Specifically, foundational Black American, or if you want to be accurate as possible, Native American. And no, I don't mean Indian. You all know who we're talking about. Let's continue. Sharing the race of a victim does not make you a victim. Why don't you tell that to the Indians, Japanese, and others who are receiving reparations? And again, we're not a race. We are an ethnic group. And those other people are receiving reparations based on their ethnic group. So get your language right. I understand you have to twist everything into your favor. Sharing the race of a villain does not make you a villain. Being related to okay, now you're just repeating yourself. Look at this. The dead owe and are owed nothing. Now this person is referring to white Americans. And you hear a lot of white Americans say this. They say, why should I be punished? Why should we be punished for something that happened way back then? You're not crying about being punished now. They're giving our tax dollars away for reparations for several other groups, as well as just giving our tax dollars away to other groups, period. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And the money is not coming from you. It's coming from this government. It was this exact same government that disenfranchised us, enslaved us, Jim Crowed and black coded us. So it's that same government that we're demanding reparations from. Okay? This has nothing to do with the average citizen. So beat it. This government uses our tax dollars for a lot of different things. The only thing you want to complain about is reparations. Look at this. Forcing the innocent to pay non-victims for something that happened to neither of them is not reparations. Again, say that to the other people receiving reparations. Huh? As if what our ancestors went through doesn't affect us. We're not going to play dumb. I'm not playing dumb with none of y'all. Y'all leaving these stupid comments knowing you being a deceptive, dishonest liar. Reparations is actual proven victims being compensated by their actual violators. No. If you violate me and you rob me, you've also robbed my child, my children, my family, as well as theirs. So don't give me that either. Y'all love playing dumb. And this is with everybody with an objection against reparations. You love playing dumb, coming up with these pathetic excuses. Nobody gets paid reparations for being a race, okay? So these are typical low IQ objections to reparations that I usually see. Now, shout out to Dr. Claud Anderson, who I don't think is talked about enough, who really got the ball rolling when it comes to Black Americans needing to focus on Black Americans, fight for reparations, and get ourselves established first before we do any Pan-Africaning, and before we fight for other groups. This needs to be done first.
If you don't get reparations as black folk, you're through in this country. You see, what's happening to black Americans is that black Americans have been systematically, socially engineered into the lowest level of a real-life monopoly game. You do not own and control a sufficient amount of anything to be competitive in America. You're getting ready to be buried. Now, to get reparations, one of the things I've been trying to do now for 30 years, beginning with the state of Florida, when Governor Rubin Askew put me over education, when they had no blacks in politics in Florida, was to write the first affirmative action plan in the United States. But what's happening now is that what I'm trying to do is create a Harvest Institute that would try to take all my colleagues here and, as much as possible, try to give you new points of information that take you outside the box. Part of the problem we got in trying to deal with reparations, a lot of the other racial issues in the country, is that we keep trying to think and find solutions inside the box. See, in 1860, for instance, black folk, as a direct result of slavery, had an ownership. When you were 98% slaves, you had an ownership of 0.5% of this nation's wealth in 1860 on the eve of the Civil War. What's happening right now is blacks is a marginalized, subordinated class of people all over the earth. Whites control almost 100% of all the wealth, power, resources, privileges, and controls of all levels of government. You're playing a game you can't win. You got to get reparations. Now, how are you going to get it? Let me run through 3 or 4 things very quickly because I don't want to take up the time here. First thing you must do, I've heard it mentioned already, we gotta commit a national campaign all over this country to start publicizing the issue of reparations for black folk. Not as something nice, but as a necessity, period. That means every living soul, every organization, every institution in this country must begin to start.
A good thing to point out here is the statements by these Sambos who, acquire a bag. They live well. So they hop online, giving us some lecture, talking about, hey, look at me, I'm black, and I have a bunch of money. You can do it too. No, we're not going to live vicariously through these few little individual black Americans who've made a come up. And that's what they try to get us to do. The average working black American is not rich. The average black male makes some $41,000, $42,000 a year. Black females like 30-some thousand. So save all your success stories, the Anton Daniels of the world, etc. Save it. And even then, even if you do make a come up, things would have been different had we received reparations. Just like things would have been different had we not been so disenfranchised, so robbed, not only by slavery, but black code laws and Jim Crow laws. Had that not taken place, no matter who you are, we would be even better off. So save the excuses, save your personal success stories. Reparations it's not about being lazy. Because like I said, most people who co-sign with reparations, they're working people. This is what y'all don't like to admit. They're not lazy people. You hear about them supporting reparations because they're working people who can pay for a computer, a phone, and pay their bills. You're not hearing from no bums.
You all not old enough to know that yet. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid, see, we had something. We didn't have the resources we needed as much as we needed, but we had something. We had communities. We had communities all over America, Harlem, places like that. We had our communities.
Yeah, we only hear about Black Wall Street, Sometimes you hear about Bronzeville in Chicago.
Right.
I can't remember the town in North Carolina, but we don't hear about that. They were literally those communities all over the country.
That's right. Well, Sweet Auburn and Atlanta, Georgia, that's had all the.
It was dozens of towns like that, cities like that. And that is for all these people who come over here and try to project us as lazy. None of you recently arriving immigrant groups have ever actually built one city here. We're still the only group who built dozens of towns all over this country, only to have them systematically destroyed. Another reason we're going to need that check. See, that's what reparations is about. And what we're looking at is a bunch of blacks in the diaspora who are upset with us. Because during this fight for reparations, we're not fighting for reparations for black people. They want us to just say black people so that they can include themselves. Hey, I'm black too. And we're saying no. And blacks in the diaspora have a problem with that. But that's y'all's problem. You're actually insane to sit there and expect for us to fight for reparations for you, people in Africa and the Caribbean. So we're supposed to campaign y'all's government. So instead of just campaigning here in America as Americans, you want us to fight the French government, the British government for reparations for y'all too? You're insane if you think that's going to happen. And we're not about to oppress the U.S. government. That's not going to get reparations for you. That will only get reparations for us. You want reparations? Fight for it yourself. Oh, you've already started, haven't you? And y'all's reparation campaign does not include black Americans. Most black Americans don't mind the title of FBA, Foundational Black American. Foundational Black American is not an agenda. It's not a group. It's not an organization. We understand that it's simply a way to identify black Americans, or what people know as black Americans, African Americans, freedmen. But it's a title best suited for us to acquire reparations, because it's a title that cancels out all non-black Americans. Because we know as soon as we start to fight for reparations and they say, okay, black people are going to get it, you're going to get a whole bunch of non-FBAs trying to get a reparations check. And it ain't happening.
Big hotels, fine restaurants, and everything. We were looking for this social integration. You know why? Because we had our own businesses there. And when I say we had a bus line, I'm not talking about 2 or 3 buses. We had over 500 buses.
Wow.
In Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We had that from 1927.
500. We were extremely self-sufficient. Extremely. And that's why we were so targeted by the government. That is more than deserving of reparations.